Here we go. Well, it is snowing in Arkansas. This week we got a record amount of snowfall here in this southern state. It's a historical amount. We haven't had this much snow in a very long time. I'm 64 years old, and I don't ever remember having this much snow in Arkansas in the winter time. I've got about 16 inches of snow on my yard from this week, and it's quite different around here. We usually don't get this much snow, but I was thinking about what snow is good for, and we tend to look on the bad side, and it's difficult. It shuts things down, and we can't go anywhere. We've had to just hole up, and we're not equipped with snow plows or salt or anything of that nature down here, because we rarely get this kind of snow. But in the midst of all the difficulties and problems that snow brings us, it's nice to know that God is still in control. And I wanted to tell you a few reasons why snow is actually good for us and some of the benefits that we get from a good snowfall. Now again, not just here in Arkansas, because this is quite unique for us, but overall the world is usually covered by about 10% of its landmass is covered in snow and ice, and there's many other places where the snow comes and the snow goes, and on an annual basis. Now, some of the good things that snow does is, for one thing, it makes an insulating blanket that covers the earth during the winter time. And it seems silly to think of snow as being an insulator, but it really does keep the ground from getting really cold. So you get a nice blanket of snow on the ground. The ground temperature underneath the snow may remain at about 28 degrees or so, with a few inches of snow on top of it, and that's a lot better than freezing and really deeply. Here after we had the snow, our temperature got down to 0, which again is extremely unique for Arkansas, and we didn't really know what to do with that kind of temperature. And the fact that we had the snow first and then the cold temperatures helped us to know that the ground did not freeze deeply. It's very hard on the grass and the seeds and the plants when you get that much temperature fluctuations. In some places, without the snow as an insulator, the temperature of the ground would rise and fall and rise and fall, and great fluctuations would be very hard on all the living plants that are in there. Not only that, but we have a heaving that takes place when the ground freezes. The ground freezes and the ground heaves up, and it melts and thaws, and it goes back down and back and forth and up and down, freezing and thawing. This kind of ground heaving will break the roots off of small plants, and it will destroy push some of the bulbs and plants completely out of the ground. And it's very hard on the life that lives in that top layer of soil that's growing there underneath the snow. Another thing that snow does for the landscape is it provides moisture that is much slower in soaking into the earth than like rain. We got a good heavy rain. If we got, let's see, about 10 inches of snow is the equivalent of 1 inch of rainfall. So if we got an inch of rain, fell all at once, it was gone, then it would have fallen on the earth. Most of it would have run off and done a lot of eroding along the way. But on snowfall, the snow comes down and it makes a thick blanket, and it melts very slowly, and that allows the moisture content of the snow to seep into the ground very slowly. It's a good slow soaking that puts water from the surface all the way down into the soil and down into the aquifers, and the water table is raised, and all that would have been missed if it had just rained and ran off without soaking into the ground. So the plants with the deeper root systems, and especially our water tables and aquifers, they need this type of snow, this type of moisture that comes slowly and gently all the way from the surface of the snow all the way down into the aquifers. It's just good for our underwater water flow. Also, in terms of water management, many places are in arid lands that are surrounded with high mountains, and it is an absolute requirement for them to be able to see that up in the higher elevations, up in the mountains, there's going to be an abundance of snow. because that snow is going to provide water for the growing season through irrigation all over the footlands that lie close to the mountains. We don't have a lot of mountain snows that we irrigate with here in Arkansas, but I spent about 9 or 10 years out in Colorado, and it was very important out there. There was a place where we lived in Cortez. There was a big S-shaped piece of snow up there in one of those mountains, and everybody watched that S-shaped line of snow in the mountains. If it stayed till a certain date, if it lasted that long into the summer, then everybody knew that there would be sufficient irrigation water to get them all the way through the season. If the snow melt in the mountain had gotten so low that what we could see from Cortez was no longer visible, then you knew that we didn't get enough snowfall in the mountains, and there's not going to be enough irrigation water to get us through the season. It's going to be a very difficult growing season. It's going to be a very dry and arid fall, and it's going to be a rough winter because you're not going to get any water until next spring runoff. So the ability for snowfall to keep in reserve a large amount of moisture and let it out slowly over an extended period of time is very important. In the Bible times, it was important to the land of Israel. They get almost all of their moisture between October and May. Here in Arkansas, we get about 50 to 60 inches a year. In Israel, they would get about 35 inches of moisture per year. But again, almost all of it falls from October throughout the winter into May. So all the growing season, they're not going to get any rainfall. So it is a necessity that there's going to be some way to irrigate. And again, that's where the snow high in the mountains come to play. It's like the Bible says, have you entered into the storehouses of his snow? And that God sends the snow, and he does these things for different reasons. There are a lot of seeds of plants that require a cold, moist period of time. It's called stratification, and otherwise the seeds will not sprout the next spring. Now, oftentimes around here, if we plant it in the fall, it'll lay outside in the soil. It'll be cold, and it'll be enough coldness and plenty of moisture here in the south that those seeds will be stratified and waking out of its dormancy when the springtime comes and weather heats up. But in here and in many other places around the world, there are a lot of wildflowers and vegetable seeds and all kind of seeds that they're just not going to, they're not going to sprout. They're not going to waken out of their dormancy unless they go through a cold, moist stratification, so that the drop in temperature and then for over a month, and then the rise in temperature in the springtime, stimulates the hormones inside that little seed to wake up out of its dormancy. Other types of stratification are dry stratification, where you just put it in cold for a while, and some are abrasive, and like you can sand some seeds with sandpaper. That's what they need. Others are like out in the prairies. They require fire. So when fire sweeps across the prairies and in some forests, what looks like a devastation only burns off the top of the ground, and the heat of the flame stimulates the growth of the seed, so everything sprouts back up that's been lying dormant there for years. So God has his way of getting all this taken care of, and one of his ways is a good cold snow that will lay on top of the seeds and keep them cold for over a month. Again, up in the higher mountain, the lupines and the mountain wildflowers, and many down here also are vegetable seeds. They need this kind of thing. So, by the way, if you're having trouble getting your vegetable seeds to sprout in the spring, if they don't want to come up very, very well, look up stratification and see what kind of stratification those seeds may need. And they'll probably want you to put them in a Ziploc bag with a little soil or sand or whatever. Put them in your refrigerator for a month or so. And again, the cold and the moisture will bring those seeds through their dormancy, and then you'll sow them, and they'll just grow up, and you'll increase your sprouting by from 10 to 70% better. You never know. So give that a try, okay? A couple of other things real quick about snow. It's good for us because it's just beautiful, isn't it? I love the looks of the snow. There's just this clean and white, and in the Bible this represents purity, you know. Though your sins were scarlet, we'll make them white as snow, okay? So it represents cleanness and purity, white and bright and pristine, and the world is just beautiful when it's covered with snow. This is a good example of it here today. The sun has finally came out, and the world is just beautiful. Also, it's good for us because it humbles us. I mean, this is Arkansas. This is sunny Southland. And so 12 to 16 inches of snow, that shut us down. Nobody's gone anywhere. We can't do anything. We are reminded again that only God is God. And we're very glad that He and He alone is in charge of the weather, all right? So God will give us what we need. God will take care of us. And we are left to place our faith and our trust in the goodness and the mercies of God. It gets tough sometimes, and there are power outages, and people get cold, and there's some tragedies that go with it. All that comes with all aspects of weather, but it is a reminder again that only God is in control of the things going on this earth. So I hope that you're like a little snowflake, that you're happy to see other snowflakes, and that you're very unique and one of a kind, and that you know that only God has made you and taken care of you. And when He blesses us with whatever comes our way, let's try to look on the bright side, which is really easy when the sun's shining on the snow. It's real bright. And we'll thank God for what He gives us, and put our faith and trust in Him, and enjoy the snow, enjoy the sun, enjoy whatever God sends our way, okay? All right, God bless you. This is Brother Johnny saying bye-bye. See you next time.